You've been preparing for something you've already done. That's the part that's hard to look at. Not what's ahead, what's already behind you. The version of yourself you keep checking on, the one you keep promising you'll return to, you already know you won't. You've known for a while. There's a specific kind of tiredness that comes from pretending you're still deciding, from waking up each morning and rehearsing the same internal negotiation as if you haven't already signed something in a language you don't want to translate. You carry it in your posture, in the slight delay before you respond to certain questions, in the way you avoid certain rooms, certain songs, certain silences, not because they hurt, but because they're accurate. And accuracy is what you're hiding from. You're not confused. That's the thing no one says to you because they assume confusion is the problem. That if someone just explained it clearly enough, laid out the pros and cons, helped you think it through, you'd arrive somewhere. But you're not lost. You arrived a long time ago. You just haven't admitted where you're standing. The old life isn't waiting for you. You're the one who keeps waiting for it. Somewhere along the way, you stopped fitting. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a falling out or a breakdown or a fight that gave you permission to feel what you feel. It was slower than that, quieter. You started noticing things you couldn't unnotice. You started choosing silence when you used to choose words. You started editing yourself, not to fit in, but to avoid the friction of being fully there. And the editing became so constant, so automatic, that you started to wonder if the edited version was the only one left. It wasn't. But you didn't like what it meant to admit that. There's grief in this. Not the kind that announces itself, not the kind that earns sympathy or explanation, the kind that sits just beneath the surface of a normal day and makes everything feel slightly off, the kind that makes you wonder why you're tired when nothing happened, the kind that follows you into the shower, into the drive home, into the last 10 minutes before sleep when you're too tired to distract yourself and too awake to rest. You've been mourning something you chose to leave, and no one tells you that's allowed. No one tells you that walking away doesn't cancel the weight of what you're walking away from, that you can be right and still be sad, that you can want what's next and still miss what you lost. Not the reality of it, but the version of yourself who believed it would work. That's what you're really letting go of. Not a place, not a person, not a job or a city or a plan. The version of yourself who thought this would turn out differently, who tried longer than anyone saw, who adjusted and adjusted again and kept showing up to something that had already ended. Because leaving felt like failing and staying felt like proof that you still believed. You don't believe anymore. You haven't for a while. That's not a flaw. That's not cynicism. That's not even sadness. It's just the truth. And the truth doesn't always arrive with permission. Sometimes it just stands there, patient and quiet, waiting for you to stop arguing with it. You're not the same person who started this, and you've been afraid to say that out loud. Not because it's untrue, but because of what follows. Because once you say it, you can't unsay it. Because once you name it, you have to live in it. And living in it means no longer pretending there's a way back. It means standing in the middle of a life that hasn't fully formed yet and admitting that you chose this, even when you don't know what this becomes. The discomfort you feel right now isn't uncertainty, it's transition. It's the in-between. It's the long exhale after years of holding your breath and wondering why you felt like you were drowning. You weren't weak for staying as long as you did. You were hopeful. You were trying. You were doing what people do when they love something. You gave it more than it gave you, and you kept going anyway. That's not failure. That's just what it looks like when someone cares. But caring and staying are not the same thing, and you've confused them long enough. There's a moment coming, not a loud one, not a clean break or a declaration or a decision that makes sense to anyone else. Just a quiet shift. A morning where you wake up and realize you're no longer pretending, where the weight you've been carrying starts to feel like something you're holding rather than something you are, where you finally stop apologizing for what you already know. If something in this landed, you don't have to explain why. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to share anything you're not ready to share. But there's something that happens when you stop keeping the truth locked inside your head, when you let it exist somewhere outside your own silence, even just a few words. Go to the comments and type, "I already left." You don't have to explain what you left. You don't have to tell anyone when or how or why. It's not for them. It's for you. Because sometimes the smallest act of visibility is the thing that makes it real. Not the decision, that already happened, but the recognition. The moment you stop pretending you're still deciding and admit out loud, even just to strangers, that you've already moved. And then you sit with it. You don't fix it. You don't plan what's next. You don't reassure yourself that it's going to work out. You just sit in the strange, open space of someone who finally stopped pretending. Someone who doesn't know what's next, but knows very clearly what's over. This isn't the end of something. It's the end of avoiding the end of something. There's a difference. You've been ready for a while. You just didn't want to be. And that's human. That's not weakness. That's the part of you that loved what you're leaving, even when it stopped loving you back. But you're not going back. You already know that. And now, maybe, you're ready to stop pretending otherwise. The night's almost over. And so is this. Whatever you're carrying into tomorrow, it's yours now. Not theirs, not the old versions, yours. That's enough for tonight. Rest if you can.